What's going on to all my movie fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new early movie review, and this is a big one because I know this is an IP that a lot of you all out there hold near and dear to your heart. We're talking about the musical drama directed by one of the greatest to ever do it in Steven Spielberg. We're talking West Side Story, a movie I got the chance to check out early, and I'm really excited to share my thoughts with you all and let you know if it's worth checking out in this spoiler-free review. Quick call to action, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. And if you all enjoyed this spoiler-free review, make sure to like and share the review. It helps out the channel a lot, but also appreciate the support. And in the comments, let me know if this film, West Side Story, was a film you all were excited for. And once you've seen it, let's go ahead and put that debate out there. Which one was your favorite between 1961 West Side Story or this one? But also, let's just talk about the film. Pros, cons, your thoughts on Steven's direction, the cinematography. What was your favorite musical piece? Did it live up to your expectations? Let's talk criticism. Were you not entertained? Did you think that Steven wasn't the right man to direct this film? And also, since we're talking musicals, let's talk top 3, top 5 musicals of all time for you in the comments below. So just a quick little thing, let you all know, I haven't seen the 1961 West Side Story in its entirety. I've seen bits and pieces, but not enough to say I've seen it, and I've never seen the musical. So this is coming from a person that's this is their first time really diving into this world. So I just want to put that out there. But let's get into my review, starting off my positive, starting off with the director here, who like I said, I consider to be one of the greatest to ever do it in Steven Spielberg. And I don't want this to come off as hyperbole, but someone that's a fan of Steven's work, I gotta say, this is top tier, probably his best film in the last 20 years. And I know there's the Lincoln fans of the world, there's the Bridge of Spies of the fans of the world, there's Ready Player One fans like myself, but I think this has that magic that Steven has given us in his entire career, whether it be films like Jaws, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan. I mean, the man has some of the greatest movies of all time. This is his top tier film in his last 20-year filmography, in my opinion, man. This just has so much heart behind it. Doing a little bit of my research of the film, knowing that this was a passion project of his. He's been wanting to do a musical his entire career, and I think it was worth the wait because this is just some of his best direction in a very long time. The way that Steven's able to unfold this, which I know to be a very respected, legendary musical in the 1961, a very respectable screenplay or stage play, I should say, but I just think that Steven just had a personal connection to the story, had a grip to the narrative he wanted to tell, revamping some of the storylines that might have not been as, fleshed out in the 1961 version, which I do plan on watching after seeing this. But I thought that Steven was on top of his game. You could just feel the passion, you could feel the energy that he gave to this film. And I think, like I said, this is top tier Steven Spielberg. So if you're a fan like me, you will be very impressed by what he was able to deliver in that direction chair, but also his very a collaboration that he's done with a lot in his cinematography. The cinematographer in this film and the cinematography in this movie is absolutely breathtaking. The way the camera is able to move you through the narrative, through the dance movements, through the different incredible set pieces was just like breathtaking in my personal opinion. And I thought just from a production standpoint, everyone in their departments brought their A game. Like, this is award-winning production, from the set designs to the use of colors. I don't mean to nerd out about the production, but I'm a big person that loves production and really appreciates great production. Lighting is everything, ladies and gentlemen, and the lighting cues in this film is absolutely flawless. It has to be one of the best lit films I've seen this year, and just, again, nerding out about that stuff, I have to praise the production, the direction, the cinematographer. They did an absolute A++ job when it came to bringing this film together. And just kind of transitioning into those performances that I know a lot of people will be talking about. And I want to kind of start with the supporting, leading on down to the starting cast. Starting off with an OG, one of the greatest actresses of our time, talking about Rita Moreno as Valentina, who actually, Rita was in the 1961 from what I've seen from my research, and she is great in this film. She plays Valentina, someone that's well respected in the neighborhood, whether it be from the Jets or the Sharks, but in particular her relationship with Tony, which I thought was a really good emotional beat through in this film. She had such an emotional moment where she has her musical piece in the movie, and just seeing her character go throughout the narrative, see how she has the pressure in the neighborhood from marrying a white man, being that she's Puerto Rican, and just seeing that narrative move throughout the movie. I thought that she was fantastic. I also want to shine a light on our two main leaders of the gangs, of the Jets and the Sharks, starting off with David Alvarez as Bernardo, who is the lead of the Sharks. I thought this young man did an incredible job in his role, whether it was the musical pieces, the dance sequences, his relationship with his girlfriend, his relationship with his sister, and just seeing him having that tough side to him, representing the Sharks, the Puerto Ricans, and holding off the Jets, but also not really wanting to fight, but having to fight to stand up from where he comes from. I really enjoyed his performance, but also the other lead that we have for the Jets, played by Mike Faist as Riff, who leads the Jets, who is the best friend of Tony, who created the Jets with Tony. I thought that Riff was a really interesting character, a character you wanted to hate, but at the same time, I like how the film was able to kind of give us a little backstory of why he does and why he thinks the way he does. Even though it's wrong, I like that the film kind of put a light on that. So I thought that they were fantastic, but I want to talk about the two standout performances for me, the MVPs, the scene stealers, starting off with the lead of this film, Rachel Zegler, who plays Maria. And if you all don't know, there was over 30,000 different actresses who tried to get the role, and she got it. And this is her debut in front of the camera, and she has a promising career after this role. I know she's already signed up to do Shazam in a couple years, as well as Snow White with Gal Gadot, so I'm really looking forward to her. But it was in this movie that really shined a light on me. I know she comes from a YouTube backstory. She has, cover songs, and when you hear her sing, and this is my first time hearing her sing, I haven't visited her YouTube, but I will soon. She's incredible. She steals your heart. I can now completely understand why she was casted as Snow White, because she just has this voice that just no matter what you're doing, you got to focus on her. I thought that she did such a great job as Maria. There's so much kind of on her shoulders, knowing that this is I shouldn't say directorial debut, but her acting debut, being directed by one of the greatest of all time, having this pressure of a character that a lot of people love. I thought that she nailed the role. I really look forward to visiting 1961 and seeing that version of Maria, but it's going to be hard. I know this is kind of hard to say because I haven't seen the original, but I'm in love with this version of Maria, and Rachel did such a great job of bringing her to life and just seeing her story be untold, from falling in love with Tony, knowing that it's kind of forbidden with how her brother views the Jets and how he views white men during this time, and just seeing that love story, seeing her become her own woman, and seeing that third emotional act. I thought she was fantastic. But there's another actress that I think completely stole my heart and just blew me away, and that is Ariana DeBose as Anita, who, whether it's her singing, her dancing, her emotional moments, her acting, obviously, she did such a fantastic job. I saw her, it was a movie, I want to say it was either this year or last year. I didn't like the movie, but it was called The Prom. It wasn't a good film, but I thought she was great in it. You talk about promising careers. This woman here did her damn thing, and like I said, she almost damn near stole the film if it wasn't for Maria and Rachel. But I thought that she was just absolutely fantastic. So we touched on the performances, we touched on the production, the direction. Narrative wise, I thought the story was fine. We'll get to that a little bit later, but I do just I do like how the film does even though it takes place in the 50s, and I know this is kind of a rehashing of the original with some nuances in the narrative, but it is a very timely story in regards to how sometimes how unlike-minded people can clash, right? And we can conquer more together than we can separate. So I kind of like how that narrative can go beyond time and still resonate with an audience today. So I really applaud that with the narrative there. So transitioning to some of my criticisms that I have written down here, I touched a little bit on the story. Obviously, it has shades of Romeo and Juliet, a classic story of Jets versus Sharks, people that feel like this is their territory, people that are, prejudiced against people of different colors and different backgrounds. So we've seen all that stuff before, but as far as the narrative goes, I felt like it was almost an incomplete story. Again, I plan on watching the original, but I feel like when you get to that third act, which I do appreciate the slow build, the character development to kind of get backstories to make you care for the characters. And I think the emotional moments do hit in this film when we get to that emotional third act, which I did not see coming. But I felt like when we get to those final 10 to 15 minutes, to me personally, it felt like an incomplete story. And without giving too much away for those that haven't seen the original like me or haven't seen the stage play, I think of, okay, what's going to happen now with the block and everything being torn down? How are the Jets and the Sharks rival going to continue? What's going to happen to this particular character that made a decision that's going to change their life forever? So I wish that there was this little bit more of a resolution with some of those unanswered questions for me personally. Again, I know some people probably didn't care about some of the stuff, but those were the plots that really kind of got me invested in the story. But kind of moving on to some other criticisms, musically speaking, not being a big musical expert or, an enthusiast in musicals, but I appreciate a good musical. I thought the performances of the musical pieces were there, and there were some songs that I absolutely fell in love with, but for a whole completion of a musical, there were some songs I felt were just a little bit outdated, and again, I understand this is meant to be in the 50s, this is a remake of a film that, came out in the 60s, but some of those the rhythm and some of the musical pieces just didn't resonate with my personal taste. Again, to each his own, but some of the musical songs just didn't hit me the way that I was hoping that it would for the completion of the soundtrack. And then also just a little bit of a criticism here as far as a nitpick. We get a little bit of backstory of the Jets and kind of their mindset and how they perceive themselves and their point of view, how the world sees them. I wish we would have got that from the Sharks, the Puerto Ricans of the story. I wish it was a little bit more backstory, a little bit more meat with the supporting characters from the Sharks. But lastly, I do want to touch on a particular performance, and this has nothing to do with this actor's, stuff that's going on outside of acting and kind of separating the art from the artist. But I will say, for me personally, Ansel Elgort as Tony, it wasn't that his performance was bad. I just felt like it was inconsistent. He played the role when it came to a bad boy turned good, turned bad again. All that stuff worked, but I felt like the chemistry with him and Rachel wasn't all the way there. Not from Rachel's part, but from his end. And also, I hate to be the guy to kind of point out the singing ability of Elgort, which I know he's a singer and has some songs that I've heard of his in the past, but for some reason, man, he felt a little bit miscasted for me in the role, and I don't feel like he gave me the emotional resonance that I'm supposed to get with the Tony character. I really felt it from Marie, but unfortunately for me, Tony was a little bit underwhelming. And also, kind of speaking of underwhelming, the love story, and knowing that the story takes place in like 2 days, I personally felt that the love story was a little bit rushed and kind of unbelievable in regards to how quickly they fell in love. And I'll just kind of leave it at that without getting into the details. But those are my main criticisms on the movie. Before we get into my overall thoughts on my score, make sure if you haven't already to like the video and share the video and leave your thoughts in the comments. Overall, I have to say West Side Story lived up to my expectations going into this, which is Steven Spielberg being one of the greatest of all time. This is one of his top tier films of his filmography. This film is absolutely breathtaking when it comes to the production, the musical aspects, the musical numbers. I mentioned those standout roles and seeing Rachel and her career moving forward, as well as Ariana and David and Mike. I'm really looking forward to see what they're going to do next. So I do have those criticisms that I mentioned, but overall, this is a magical film. This is a film I recommend you all give a watch and take your family to go see it when it becomes available on December 10th. I'm going to give West Side Story a 4.4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this film. I did have my criticisms that I mentioned, but I can't help but to have a smile on my face when I think about how beautiful the film was. So that's just my thoughts on West Side Story. I want to know yours. Pros, cons, your favorite musicals of all time. Which is better, 1961 or this one? I plan on checking out that one sooner rather than later. But again, let's have some dialogue about all that stuff in the comment section. If you stuck around to this point in the video, I appreciate every single one of you all. Before you leave, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my future reviews. As you all can see on the screen now, I really appreciate you. Hope you're staying safe. Hope you enjoyed this review. Subscribe to my channel. Check out the other content. We'll catch you in the next video.